Ryan Robo, Redmond Fire Lieutenant, for at least a little while longer. Council members, thank you for allowing me to speak. I'd much rather be working and running emergency calls, to be honest, but I'm here again to implore you to find the will to put a stop to our impending terminations. I have no doubt that Mr. Haney, as the mayor's right-hand man, will continue to bully you into submission with his opinions and state that you have no authority in this matter. Who does Mr. Haney answer to? What is the purpose of the City Council? The City of Redmond website states, the City Council adopts the city budget, establishes law and policy, approves appropriations and contracts, levies, taxes, and grants franchises. We are not easily going away. The city is leaving us with no choice but to continue to stand up for ourselves despite the political witch hunt and apparent personal vendettas against us. The facts do not support our terminations, and any argument against our continued employment can be refuted. Why are we punishing good people? If the answer is simply that we in Redmond cannot be the first entity in King County, public entity in King County, to accommodate our firefighters in their positions, please tell me how that is following the science and not just political. Please take the time to investigate this properly, reconsider the decisions that are being made, and do the right thing. I'd like to address last Tuesday's Committee of the Whole meeting where Councilmember Anderson requested numbers from the Finance Director and Chief Shepherd regarding the costs associated with this policy decision. Both directors deferred a timely response due to being overstretched. I believe Mr. Corder needed 30 days or more. Not surprisingly, without any action taken, we should all be terminated by then. I was disappointed Chief Shepherd was unwilling to provide even an overview of the impact of this decision. As it relates to overtime, the amount of overtime expenditures during similar time periods over the last 3 years shows roughly a 300% increase from 2 years ago and a 200% increase from a year ago. During the first 4 months of this year, suppression overtime is costing nearly $300,000 per month. Decreased staffing, COVID illness amongst the vaccinated workforce, and burnout from being overworked are contributing causes. A side effect is low morale. All of these combined leads to more sickness and injuries and more overtime. The chief could have been forthcoming about the cost of replacing us by highlighting the expense of hiring and interviews, the cost to outfit all new firefighters with custom gear and uniforms, putting them through an EMT course in Eastside Fire Academy, which adds additional costs outside of their salaries and benefits, and taking 2 to 3 experienced firefighters off the line to instruct, creating a need to backfill. Removing 12 experienced firefighters, including 7 supervisors, in exchange for new recruits has a significant effect and may not show on a spreadsheet, but is a cost. None of these costs, which are millions of dollars, were necessary. There would have been no undue hardship to honor the accommodations negotiated and agreed upon that allowed us to work in our positions like we did for the 20 months prior to October 18th, and so many others continue to do today. The lack of transparency relating to the costs upon the city due to the mayor's decisions have and will continue to affect the city negatively. As you know, there will be litigation. Tort claims currently filed with the city total over $70 million. The council should also be very concerned about possible damage caused to the relationship between the city and Fire District 34 due to the way that this has transpired. As the contract comes up for renewal, it would be wise for the council to reach out to the fire commissioners. As the city attempts to put forth an emergency services levy asking for more funding, be acutely aware of how fiscal irresponsibility is not a selling point to the taxpayers who are our employers. So to conclude, please reconsider the human cost of continuing down this road. Don't let Mr. Haney hijack this process. Find the correct mechanism to stop this action in its tracks and allow time to investigate these claims and whether we should be terminated based on what we know now.
Hello, my name is Tracy Robillard, wife of Lieutenant Brian Robillard. I'm here to invite you into my world of confusion with the City of Redmond and their fire department. And I'm going to ask you to help me make this make sense. My husband, Lieutenant Brian Robillard, was told that he could not continue to do his job as the training lieutenant, a non-patient facing position within the fire department, once the mayor's executive order was issued. But then the city offered Brian his job back months later as his own accommodation, with a pay cut, although he took a pay raise when he accepted the position of training lieutenant. confusion. The pay cut was explained that it had something to do with his EMT cert, which makes 0 sense as Washington State allowed Brian to keep it active. And those in the fire prevention, another non-patient facing position, did not receive a pay cut, actually just the opposite. Every time that it was asked of Brian if he would like this position, Brian replied to the city that yes, he would like this position, the job and title that he currently held with the fire department. Let him go back. At no time did anyone tell Brian, great, the job is yours. You know the job. You've been doing a great job in that position for nearly the last 2 years, and we're excited to have you back. Brian and many others in this group that we belong with put their names in the hat for these 11th hour positions / accommodations, and were eager to hear who would be keeping their employment with Redmond. The city was supposed to let all interested parties know this exciting information on December 17th, but that business day came and went. We were told that the news would then be released on December 21st, only to hear that those jobs would not be awarded until those interested parties were off leave. Again, when Brian and the others came off leave, they all stated yes, they would take the offered position. Brian's job, training lieutenant, was listed as a vacant inner-city job posting, so we just knew that someone within our group would definitely be getting this job and would be able to stay employed with Redmond Fire. I deep down knew it would be Brian because he was the last one to hold this title. Do you know what happened? Chief Adrian sent an email to Brian and all interested parties stating that there was no work available. So I ask you, make this make sense. The job that Brian had but couldn't do unvaccinated, that was then offered to him as his own accommodation, but when he technically was eligible for the vacant position, there was no work for him? Even though it was listed as a vacant job posting on the city website. Tell me why Brian was ever told to stop coming to work. I'm going to move on. Let's make this make sense. At the end of a pandemic, when the viral caseload is so low that the state has done away with indoor and outdoor masking policies, when King County has done away with their vaccine passport program, when the FAA has done away with the mask mandate for plane and train travel, when our King County Medical Director, Dr. Ray, has done away with masking and testing within our fire departments in King County, the city of Redmond is willing to fire amazing fire staff with unblemished work history. Obviously, it'll be costing the city millions in overtime, new hire expenses, and future litigation payouts. Again, it's a little over $77 million filed against the city right now in tort claims. So, council, the city website that I printed out says that your job is provide the mayor direction on policy goals and objections. I could go on and read the rest, but I'm going to say this. This is not a staffing issue. When you have an executive order that directly affects a group of people, this is a policy issue. I want you guys to hear that. It's a policy issue, and that's your job. So I'm asking you to do the right thing. Do the job that you've been elected to do. Do the job that you know you have the authority to do, and put a stop to any further terminations. Remember who Mr. Haney works for. Thank you.